Yeah, good evening everyone. Today we are discussing conservation of momentum. It's a part of chapter number 2 physics class ninth. As you know, conservation of momentum means momentum is conserved quantity. It means that the total momentum before collision is equal to total momentum after collision, right? So we got to prove m1 u1 plus m2 u2 is equal to m1 v1 plus m2 v2. This is a case of a two bodies A and B, as you can see on my screen. Two bodies are there, beta, A and B. This is the peak before collision. This is the center one is at the time of the collision, and the last one is after collision. After collision, due to destruction, you can see little imbalancement and little deformation in the shapes of both the bodies, right? Irrespective of their body size. Again, I'm telling you, we have to prove that total momentum before collision is equal to total momentum after collision. That is m1 u1 plus m2 u2 is equal to m1 v1 plus m2 v2. So how we are going to prove this? We have m1 as mass of the first body, that is A body. M2 is mass of the second body, that is B body. Small t is the time during which collision takes place, just whatever time interval at which the collision has taken place. U1 is the initial velocity of the first object. U2 is the initial velocity of the second object. V1 is the final velocity of the first object, and V2 is the final velocity of the second object. Next, two more things you got to know, that is F12. F12 is the force exerted by the body 1 on body 2. Whatever force body 1 is applying on body 2, this 2 is coming later. It means it is the F12 means force exerted by body 1 on body 2, and F21 means force exerted by body 2 on body 1, right? You remember the third equation, third Newton's law, which says to every action there is equal and opposite reaction. So it means F12 is equal to minus F21. Both are equal in magnitude but opposite in sign, right? So that's why I have written F12 is equal to minus F21. You know the formula for force by Newton's second law, which says force is equal to mass into acceleration. So in place of F12, beta, again I'm telling you, F12 means force exerted by body 1 on body 2. So you have to take this mass and acceleration of body 2. And if it is F21, this is the force exerted by body 2 on body 1. So you have to take the mass and acceleration of body 1. That's why I have written F12 is equal to minus F21 by Newton's third law. In place of F12, I'll write down M2 into A2, and in place of F21, I'll write down M1 into A1, right? Now, in place of acceleration, you can write down V minus U by T. Acceleration is V minus U by T. So, in place of A2, it will be V2 minus U2 whole divided by T. And in place of A1, you will write down V1 minus U1 whole divided by T. This T and T both are in denominator on the left and right hand side. They'll get cancelled down. You can cut them. We'll be left with M2 bracket open V2 minus U2 bracket close is equal to minus M1 bracket open V1 minus U1. Now what you got to do? You got to multiply it. M2, if you will multiply M2 with V2, it will be M2 V2. Then M2 with U2, this is minus M2 U2 equal to, now you multiply minus M1 with V1 minus U1. So it would be minus M1 V1 plus M1 U1. Now shift both the negative signs on left and right hand side. And you know, according to linear equation, if the negative sign will go to left side or right side, their sign will get changed. So I have taken this minus M1 V1 on the left side and this minus M2 U2 on the right side. We'll be left with M2 V2 plus M1 V1 is equal to M1 U1 plus M2 U2. You rewrite it as M1 U1 plus M2 U2 equal to M1 V1 plus M2 V2. So the total momentum before collision is equal to total momentum after collision according to this derivation. Quickly I'll give you summary. Take F12 is equal to minus F21. In place of force, write down mass into acceleration. F12 is m2 into a2. F21 is m1 into a1. In place of a2, write down v2 minus u2 whole divided by t. In place of a1, write down v1 minus u1 whole divided by t. Cut this small t and small t. We are left with m2 bracket v2 minus u2 is equal to minus m1 bracket v1 minus u1. Multiply, do the multiplication part, and then shift the negative terms with negative sign on either side, on left hand and right hand. You will be left with m2v2 plus m1v1 is equal to m1u1 plus m2u2. Rewrite it as m1u1 plus m2u2 is equal to m1v1 plus m2v2. So my dear student, this was the derivation for conservation of momentum, which is very important from class 9th point of view. We'll be back with more numerical based on this chapter and conservation of momentum. Thank you everyone.